Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of Houston Theater Beat. I'm your host, John Lazo. On this edition of Houston Theater Beat, I welcome to the studio the charming and talented Lauren Dolk, who will share with us her experience performing in musical theater here in Houston. Then we'll head to Country Playhouse to take a look at the upcoming CPH Black Box production of Sam Shepard's electrifying play, True West. And finally, we'll pay a visit to Fort Bend Theater and enjoy a great number from the hit musical Legally Blonde in a very special on-location edition of Harley's Hot Ticket. So let's get started. And I would like to welcome to the studio today Miss Lauren Dolk. Lauren, thank you for joining us today on Houston Theater Beat.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you could come in. The Houston Theater Beat audience, I get feedback from them all the time. They are musical fanatics. They love the genre and they see a lot of musicals. And we do a lot of musical performance segments, but I wanted you to come in today and give the audience sort of a behind-the-scenes look at, as someone who's in the Houston musical theater arena, a little bit of a background look at what that life is like for you, and I'm really glad that you came in to share that with us today. Tell the Houston Theater Beat audience a little bit about your experience. What are some of your favorite roles that you've played?
Goodness, that's always a difficult question, but again, I'm going to keep referring back to Houston because this is what this is all about. I have to say, in thinking over that question, all of my favorite roles come from roles that I have had the opportunity to do here since I've come home upon graduating in the last 4 years. Hello, Dolly is up there because I watched that movie with Barbra Streisand as a child, and getting to play Minnie Fay was just as fun as I had imagined it ever would be. Also, another musical that was sort of on this bucket list of mine was the musical The Producers. And I played Ulla, the Swede with the incredibly long name. That was a really fun role. I love Mel Brooks and his humor, and that's just a really fun show. Other favorites in the musical theater realm. In college, again, because of my dance background, oftentimes I was placed in the dance chorus or ensemble. Again, typically, which is the backbone of the show.
Of course.
And one of my favorite shows there was Cabaret. That was really great because the director approached it from a sense of, this isn't going to be your maybe typical production where sometimes you go the route of it being flashy, but let's really get into, fleshing out these ensemble women as these women who are working in this nightclub. Why are they there? What's their background? So that was a really fun approach. I feel like that was a deeper level of commitment than just a big production, showy, flashy musical. It still was a lot of fun.
Sure.
But it was nice to have that sort of deeper connection with the material.
Absolutely. Do you think that there's the shows that are being presented currently, do we have a good balance? Is there anything to be said for the classics versus the very modern? Just to use titles, I mean, is there too much Music Man and not enough Rent, or the other way around? Or what do you think in terms of the audience appeal of what's being offered right now? Or do we have a good balance, do you think?
Well, I will say, now, I'll start off by saying, yeah, I have a bias because my voice type being more sort of your soprano, legit sort of sound.
Sure.
I have a special place in my heart for the musicals that have come before this more sort of contemporary movement, because I feel like that's sort of the material where my voice sort of is happiest.
Right.
And I think that this community has a lot of the contemporary, Spelling Bee and Hairspray, and both phenomenal shows. And I think that you'll occasionally see you know, that the older generation, and you'll see Sound of Music, and you'll see, you know, every now and again. So if my bias was going to answer this, I would say it would be nice to see more of that, you know, earlier period of musical theaters done more, but with an understanding too that they tend to be higher production costs because they're larger. I think of Hello Dolly, you know, that's a large cast, a large ensemble, really wonderful production values. So I understand why sometimes, you know, more contemporary shows are just better suited towards the reality of theaters putting on, you know, a show where maybe they can devote their attention to other things other than just how are we going to put this on?
Right,
you know,
exactly.
the costs could be overwhelming. But I think there's a pretty good balance. I mean, in musical theaters and in you know, straight theater itself, this city has a lot to offer, and theaters are popping up all the time.
Sure.
So.
I'll ask you a hypothetical. Let's say that you were addressing a class at the high school for the performing and visual arts. There are 20 fresh faces sitting out listening to what's going to be your advice. Each one of those young people, both young men and young women, is seriously contemplating a life in the musical theater. What's the one piece of advice you would give to them?
The one piece of advice I would give to them, and this was actually advice we were given when we got into college, when sort of the stakes are, you are declaring at this point in your life what you believe to be what you will go on to pursue. And so what I would say is, it can be summed up in one question. Ask yourself, try and honestly ask yourself, is there anything else that I could see myself enjoying more than pursuing musical theater? If the answer is yes, you recognize that there's something else you would rather do, follow that, pursue that. If the answer, because most likely you will have a more lucrative experience, you will make more money, if that's maybe potentially what could be a focus for you. But if you can't see yourself doing anything that you'd enjoy more, then you will be able to endure the inherent rejection, lack of a lot of money, if that is something that's important to you.
Sure.
Training and having discipline, sometimes having to live like a monk, not having the glory of what it is to basically train like a pro athlete or an Olympian. But, you know, if basically what I'm saying is, you've got to do this for the love of it. And sometimes people joke saying, you've got to be crazy to pursue this. And there is a little of that. It's your sheer love and passion for what you're doing that will even make the harder times or the difficult aspects of it worthwhile, because you know there's not anything else you could possibly do besides this that you enjoy more.
That's
So I would say
it's a
let
great
that
answer.
be
for
your
the
guide.
kids. Do you have anything coming up? Are you on hiatus? Are you in the middle?
Coming up, I will begin rehearsals mid-February for Company, a Stephen Sondheim musical.
Wonderful.
And that's going to be at Texas Repertory Theater, and I will be sort of treading the waters of newfound territory, because this will be my first Sondheim full-length show I will be involved in.
Great.
And talking about, you know, having to be a little crazy to do what we do, I will also be choreographing it.
Oh,
as well as
good.
acting in it. So
That's wonderful.
I will have my work cut out for me.
Sure.
But that's the most immediate thing coming up, and
Good.
I'm looking forward.
Good. So the Houston Theater Beat audience can keep track of that, and some of them I know are. Texas Rep is, if not their home nearby community theater, then certainly one that they frequent. They can make sure
Right.
that they come see you, both in and choreographing Company at Texas Rep. That's wonderful. That should be a great deal of fun. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a very, I think, an enlightening look at the things that go into doing musical theater here in Houston. Like all of the rest of the theater scene, of course, it is constantly lively, constantly vibrant, and constantly changing. And growing. And it's a very exciting thing to be in the middle of, I can imagine. Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Really
it was great to have
appreciate
you. Stay tuned, because we'll be right back with more of the show in just a moment. I'm here in the black box space at Country Playhouse with members of the cast and crew of Sam Shepard's True West, which is coming up very soon here in the black box at CPH. I'm being joined by my very special guest. This is Deborah Schultz. Deb is the director of the show. Deb, welcome to Houston Theater Beat. And I have two of the actors with me as well. I have Brian Maynard, and Brian is playing Lee in the show, and I have Sam Martinez, and he is playing Austin. They are the brothers in the cast, and we'll be talking to them about those characters in just a moment. First, I wanted to find out, Deb, a little bit about True West and this production of True West, and some of your views on Sam Shepard. He's one of my favorite playwrights, has been for a long time. The view of him has changed, I think, a lot. He used to be considered very cutting edge, and now maybe has moved to modern classic. Do you share that view? What draws you to Sam Shepard as a playwright?
I think one of the things I really like about Shepard is he writes just dialogue. He doesn't write all of the action. He allows the folks who pick up his scripts to do the work, which includes, putting in those moments where there needs to be quiet, because sometimes the quiet's more important than the dialogue itself. So he's, from my perspective as a director, I like any playwright who says, here's the outline, now fill in the pieces. And I think you're right. He, at one point when this came out in 1980, this was, oh wow, cutting edge, even maybe raunchy theater. Right. And now it seems kind of middle of the road, I guess.
Brian, tell us a little bit about Lee, the character, and your experience playing him.
Well, it's funny that she's talking about college and around 1990. It was around 91 or 92 whenever I was in my first college acting class. And I decided, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get away from the stuff that I was doing when I was in high school and things like that. And I think the second scene I ever picked to do was one of the scenes from True West. And I was playing Lee. It's always the darker, heavier characters that I would go for. And at the time, I told Deb this. At the time, I had this real definite idea of who this guy was. And it was exactly what she was saying. I saw no humor in this guy. It was all brute force.
Right.
It was all, I'm going to intimidate you. I'm going to get what I want by this. But it's kind of funny because when I auditioned for this play, I actually auditioned for Austin. Because I thought, well, maybe I want to relate to a guy that might be a little bit closer to who I am.
Right.
And Deb actually asked me to read for Lee as well, and when we talked about it, it's like, I got where she was coming from. And it's like, okay, that's a different way of looking at it. So I had to start looking at a character I kind of played before. And I liken him to being a rattlesnake without a rattle.
Shepard draws such very rich characters always. One of the reasons I think he has been so enduring is that, the characters are always so dynamic and always so interesting. Sam, tell us a little bit about your interpretation of Austin, your take on him and how you're presenting him in this production.
Austin's really, he's probably one of the most interesting characters I've ever got to get my hands on, because he has this huge character arc that he starts in one spot, and by the end of the show, he's in a completely different spot. And his world's completely turned upside down, and he's spent most of his life doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He does his job. he has a family, he has the kids, and he has this run-in with his brother, and he realizes that, it's not, that's not really what I want to be. I want to go out there in the world and do things. I want to do the things that my brother did, and and he realizes at one point that he can't, and that's what I think tears him up inside a little bit, that he can't be what he wants to be. He's just sort of who he's supposed to be rather than he wants.
Sure, absolutely. A lot of fascinating stuff happening with this production of Sam Shepard's True West here at CPH. Stay tuned, because right now we're going to see a little scene from this production of True West, featuring Brian Maynard as Lee and Sam Martinez as Austin. So that's coming up right now.
You always work by candlelight?
No, not always.
Just sometimes?
No, sometimes it's soothing.
Isn't that what the old guys did?
What old guys?
Forefathers, you know.
Forefathers?
Well, isn't that what they did? Candlelight burning into the night, cabins in the wilderness.
I suppose.
I'm not bothering you, am I? I mean, I don't want to break your concentration or nothing.
No, it's fine.
That's good. I mean, I realize your line of work demands a lot of concentration.
It's fine.
You probably think I'm not fully able to comprehend something like that, huh?
Something like what?
Well, that stuff you're doing, that art, whatever you call it.
It's just a little research.
You may not realize it, but I did some art myself once.
You did?
Yeah, I did some of that. Fooled around with it. No future in it.
Well, what'd you do?
Never mind what I did. Just never mind that. It was ahead of its time.
So you went out to see the old man, huh?
Yeah, I see him.
How's he doing?
Same. He's doing just about the same.
Yeah, I was down there too,
What do you want, an award? You want some kind of medal or something? You were down there. Yeah, he told me about you.
What'd he say?
Adored. He told me.
We're back here in the black box space at Country Playhouse. Thank you very much, Brian and Sam, for the wonderful selection, a little bit of a scene, a little bit of a tease for you all to see what True West is all about. You're definitely going to want to come out to CPH and see this production of True West. I don't think we have enough Shepard in town, and when we do have Sam Shepard going on in town, I think that you should come and see it. And Deb has the information about the dates and times and how to get tickets for the show. When's the show going on?
The show opens at February 8th and runs through February 23rd, Fridays and Saturdays at 8 p.m., with our Sunday matinee on February 17th at 2, and then the special Thursday show on February 21st at 7:30. You can get tickets by either calling Country Playhouse at 713-467-4497 or on the website at www.countryplayhouse.org.
Okay. How much are the tickets?
Tickets are $22 for adults, $19 for students and seniors, and of course there's always a group rate, so if somebody wants to bring a big group on, please do so.
Absolutely. And a lot of the Houston Theater Beat audience are regular Country Playhouse attendees, I know from the feedback I've gotten. And they love the black box space here at CPH. It's one of the great spaces in town as well. So make sure that you come and see this production of True West. Again, you can see the graphic at the bottom of the screen. The website address for Country Playhouse is www.countryplayhouse.org. Make sure you go there and get your tickets. And I'd like to very much thank my guest, Deb Schultz, who's directing True West here at Country Playhouse, and also our actors, Brian Maynard, who's playing Lee, Sam Martinez, who's playing Austin. You guys break a leg in the show. And everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the show in just a moment. I'm here in Fort Bend at Fort Bend Theater with the director and several of the cast members from Legally Blonde, the musical. Joining me here on the Fort Bend stage are Nathan Hand, who's the director of the show. And we have two L's in this particular production. We have Chantel Helbig, who's playing Elle, and she's sharing that role during the performances with Erica Bundy, who's right over there. And on the end, we have Sean Harden, who's playing Emmett. And this little star right here is Bruiser. And of course, he appears in the show. He's Elle's dog. And I'm sure probably steals the show at some points, right, you guys? Absolutely, absolutely. And let me talk to Nathan just a second about Fort Bend's production of Legally Blonde. Nathan, what's been really rewarding about this show has sort of become an iconic kind of a show because of the popularity of the movie and the Elle Woods character. What's been special about the production for you, and why did you think Fort Bend chose it?
At Fort Bend Theater, we're always ready to stage family-friendly productions that are engaging and entertaining for our audiences. And I think what's special about it for me, directing this particular production, was the fact that the heroine is so relatable to everybody. Generationally and geographically, everybody relates to Elle Woods for some reason. I think we've all clashed with cultures at some point in our lives, and Elle's perky personality and her pink outfits at Harvard Law School isn't your quintessential fish out of water comedy. And so I think that's what's been special about it.
Great, and you, of course, the set, we've already got the pink going with the pink door, and everything else up here as well, okay? It's a motif. You have to come see the show, obviously. Wow, it's incredible. Well, stay tuned right now because the wonderful cast of Legally Blonde, the musical here in Fort Bend is going to treat us to one of the musical numbers from the show. The number is called Positive. If you've seen the show before, you probably remember it. If not, you'll have to make sure you come down to Fort Bend and see it. And then we'll be right back with information on tickets and the dates of the show.
Honey, what you crying at? You're not losing him to that. Both her hair and shoes are flat. Why is she so rude? Wipe your tears, it's no big thing. He was meant to wear his ring. Cheer up, it's time to bring a happy attitude. Keep it positive. As you slap her to the floor, keep it positive. As you pull her hair and call her whore, you can take her in a fight. You and she will reunite. You know we're right, we're positive. Girls, violence is never wise. Not the way to win back guys. Anyway, she's twice my size. Who's got a plan B? Me. Look at her, she's like a nut. Show 'em you are way more fun. Bust out the lap dance and you won. You off the hizzle G. Keep it positive. Let out your inner freak. Keep it positive. Miss Percy Pants won't last a week. You will let his appetite. You and he will reunite. You know we're right. We're positive. We're positive. We're positive. We're positive. Oh my God, you guys are making me sick. Are we? One. living have to shake your jaw. Shake, 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 shake. Woo! Girls, how is this helping? He's not even here. He left while we were shaking junk. Girls, I'm positive that we've taken this too far. No, I'm positive this is Harvard, not a stripper bar. All this trashy carrying on, that's the reason that he's gone. I mean, it's gone. Yes! Girls, I'm positive and try not to be upset. But I'm positive it's time for me to go brunette. What? Being blonde and being hot might not got me exactly swat. I gotta show him like the Morgan. No, I'm positive. You're positive. I'm positive. You're positive. I'm positive. Positive.
That was wonderful, you guys. Thank you for sharing Positive with the Houston Theater Beat audience from the show. What a great number. You have to come down to Fort Bend and see Legally Blonde the musical here at Fort Bend Theater. There's a tremendous amount of energy and excitement here in the theater for this show. It's wonderful. And the director, who's with me, Nathan Hand, has information on the dates, times, ticket prices to share with the audience. Can you let them know?
We run Legally Blonde the musical for 12 performances. We open on January 18th and we close on February 10th. Ticket prices range from $13 to $16, which is very reasonable. And Fridays and Saturday performances are scheduled at 8 p.m. and Sundays are scheduled at 3 p.m. Tickets are available online at www.fortbendtheater.com or by calling our box office at 281-208-3333. That number again is 281-208-3333.
Good. Thank you, Nathan. So make sure you go to www.fortbendtheater.com. The theater here in Fort Bend is spelled R-E, and get your tickets to come down and see Legally Blonde the musical here in Fort Bend. I'd like to thank my guests in this segment, Nathan Hand, who's the director of Legally Blonde the musical, Chantel Helbig, and Erica Bundy, who are sharing the role of Elle, and Sean Harden, who's playing Emmett, and of course the actual star of the show, Bruiser. Make sure you come down and join the folks here in Fort Bend for a really fun evening of theater at Legally Blonde the musical. That's all for this edition of Houston Theater Beat. I'm your host, John Lazo, and until next time, I'll see you at the show.